Ooh, that looks tasty.
You are an artiste managing an atelier during the 19th century. Manage your assistants, collect paint, and complete famous works of art. Will you be a prolific artist, completing work after work for your patron? Or will you be known for a few masterpieces that will stand the test of time? The choice is yours. Welcome, folks. Today the Hungry Gamer is back with another game review. And today we are talking about Atelier, the Painter's Studio, published by AEG, designed by a lot of different people, though none of them listed, and art by every famous artist that has ever lived. And you'll see what I mean by that in just a minute. So, first of all, I do apologize. There is a little bit of a glare here on this one board, but I'll move it out of the way in just a minute. So, in Atelier, what you are doing is you are trying to manage the best art studio in the 19th century. This is Impressionism, Post-Impressionism, Romantic period. And what you're doing is you are managing your assistants and sending them out to collect paint, so you are able to have artists in your studios create these famous works of art. And let me grab a couple here and just kind of show you. So here we have, whoops, that one there, and here is another one right here. And each one is worth points and so on. You get how that works. Now, before I get any further, if you are the type of person that is not particularly interested in how this game is played and just want to jump ahead to my final thoughts, then you're going to want to jump to the timestamp on the screen right now. For those of us still here, let's talk about how this game works. And so what I've done is I have this game set up for 2 players. And so on setup, each player gets a bunch of little assistant painter meeples, a set of 4 dice of their color, a single inspiration token, and they get 2 patrons and they keep 1. And what the patrons do is they adjust your scoring at the end of the game. Then you assign 1 player the first player marker, and they will get to go first. Now, the game itself is actually very, very, very... And then the last thing you do is you go around, and whoever is second player, they get to go first, and they get to place one of their assistants in front of one of the paint piles up there. So just for the argument's sake, I will put the white one there and the purple one there in front of the red. And then you are set up. You'll see you always have 7 paintings out there. You have your patron deck, you have all your other inspiration tokens, and you have the first masterpiece token. This is awarded to the first player to paint a masterpiece. Masterpieces are the paintings that have the stars on them. First player to do that will get 4 more points at the end of the game. I will also say that you are playing until a single atelier has produced 3 masterpieces. Once 3 of those are painted, then you finish the round you're in, you play 1 more round, and then the game is over. I'll say that when playing 2 players, once you know what you're doing, you can actually play a game in about half an hour. So it's actually a fairly quick game. So let's go through what you do. So I have my first player here, and so first thing you do is you roll your dice. And I will say now that after you roll, if you ever want to, you can spend 1 inspiration token to re-roll all of your dice. You have to do it immediately after you first rolled. And so, that's what I got. And then you take those and you put them down next to your board. And the other player will also roll before anything is done with the dice. And I'll do that, and I'll just say that they are going to stick with what it is that they have. And on your turn, what you're doing is you're using your dice to do 1 of 6 different actions. 5 of them are determined by the number you roll, and the 6th one is a constant. So if you have a die that is a 1 or a 2, as I have several here, I can take one of my 2s, I'm going to use that, put it on my board, and that's going to allow me to place one of my students, one of my assistants. So I'll take it and I will just put it out here in front of one of those paint piles. That's all I do. Then it would pass over to the other player. It is now their turn. And so what I'm going to have him do is the number 3, because I've rolled a 3 over there, which means move students. So I would take my 3 here, place it onto my board, and now I get to move one of every single player's students. I don't have to move one, but that is a choice that I have. And I will say you do have to move at least one student. So what I could do is I could take the purple guy here and put him over there into the yellow, and I'll just move, I could move my own there to the red or the green or the yellow, but I'm just going to leave it right there for the moment. And you'll see why you might want to do that in just a little bit. Then it would go back to the other player. And then you kind of move down the list. There is the collect. So in order to show you this, I'm just going to do a quick fast forward and put some students out there so you have an idea of what's going on. And so now we're going to look at the number 4, and that's collect paint. And so if I use a 4, I get to collect paint. So the way collecting paint works is actually really simple. You look up here at your students, your assistants out there at the paint stores, and any location where you have the most students, you collect paint. I have 2, white has none, so I get 1 yellow paint. I have 3, white has 2, so I get a red paint. We both have 1, nobody gets anything. I should say I don't get anything because it's a tie. I will say that the only way you can get paint on a tie is during a 4-player game. And then over here, white has more, so I actually get nothing. Oh my goodness, look at that. I have reversed all of my colors. I'm sorry about that. Let me make a quick fix here, folks. I do apologize about that. I'd had my dice on the wrong side there. But so for those of you playing along at home, you will notice that if my white player here had done a collect paint, then what would be happening is they would be getting 1 green because they have more there, and that's all that they would get. And that is how you do a collect paint. Then moving on, let's pop over to the other side. Then we have paint, paint a painting. That's if you use a 5. You simply take it, and then you are able to paint any painting up there, provided you have the resources necessary. So let me grab a couple of these to show you how they work. So if we look over here, we'll see that I have 2 yellows, 2 red, 2 green, and 2 blue. So I'm looking at my cards here. To paint Salisbury Cathedral from the Bishop's grounds, I need 1 blue and 1 green. I could paint that. And I'll point out that it's worth 3. It's a romantic painting. Sometimes patrons are interested in romantic paintings. And then it gives you a once per round power. Reminder, a round is using all 4 dice. After each player has used all 4 dice, you pass the first player marker and everyone rolls again. So it's a once per round power. And so in this one, I can use 1 paint to gain 2 inspiration. So I can throw away a paint and get 2 inspiration. I'm going to talk about inspiration in just a minute. Or I could use 2 green and 2 yellow to paint Milton dictating to his daughters, which would give me 5. And when painted, I gain 1 paint from each pile where you have at least 2 students. So if my white player did this, they would get a red and a green. If the purple player did it, they would get a yellow, a red, and that is all. And I will also just point out this little meeple guy here. This means when you paint this, in addition to needing the paint, you have to use a meeple. So if my white guy painted that, he would then have to take one of his meeples out of the shops, and then that would go to his atelier, and then you replace the painting with another one. There's 2 other actions that you can take. One is you can use a 6. If you use a 6, it's very simple. You gain any 1 paint. Doesn't matter if you have enough students, you just snag 1, it goes onto your board. And the last thing that you can do is you can simply use a die for no other action than to gain a single inspiration token. Inspiration tokens are used in 3 ways. I've already shown you one. It's a way to reroll your dice, or you can spend 2 of them to paint a painting. This is in addition to playing your die. Or you can use 3 of them to draw a new patron. So I could draw a new one, and now I have also this ability to, for every realistic painting, I gain bonus points. At the end of the game, if I have 1 realism painting, I get 1 point, 2 of them gives me 3, 3 of them gives me 6, and so on. And so that kind of adds to the end game scoring multiplier. That's it. That's all you need to know about how this game works. It's really quite simple. So what do I like about this game? I have to say that I like how simple it is. It's just not hard. It's this worker management, dice placement kind of game, but it's just so simple. It is a gateway into those mechanics, and I think that is fantastic. I think Euro-style games, and I know I'm rolling dice, so maybe you'd argue it's not really a Euro game, but Euro-style games, I think, for people who aren't gamers, are hard to get into. And so I think that's really cool how that works. The rules are quick, and they are well written, and they are short. That's all there is. There is one wording mistake on one of them. They sent a correction with it, but I suspect in additional printings that will just be fixed in there. And it does not take a long time to play the game, nor does it really take a long time to set it up either. I also would be remiss in saying if I did not say that the art is fantastic. And that's because these are all real paintings. They're famous paintings. And it even tells you down at the bottom who painted it and where you can actually see the real painting, which I think is super, super cool. And I'll just kind of show you a couple of these here. Great. I'll also say that the scoring mechanics are very well done. I'll say the 2 games that I played just last night, one of them we actually went to a tiebreaker, and then the other one was the difference of maybe 1 painting or maybe a better patron card draw. So it was actually really, really close. And then the last thing that I'd like to just point out that I really like is I like the way the inspiration tokens work. I really like that it's a way to where you can take a lousy roll and turn it into something useful, because it is possible to roll something that is fairly useless. You might roll a whole bunch of 3s and only be able to move students around up there, or maybe you roll a bunch of 1s and 2s and all you can do is put students out, and maybe you don't have enough students to put out, or maybe you roll a bunch of 5s and you can't actually paint anything yet, or maybe you just have collect paint and you aren't winning anything up there, but you can throw them away and get these tokens. And you can turn these tokens into an extra paint action. You can re-roll your dice to try to get what you want. You can draw more patrons. It's a really good system. It's very, very well done as far as that goes. So let's move on to my quibbles with the game. And the first one, I'll say briefly, it's simply, I'm not in love with the theme. And that's nothing against the theme, but I don't particularly art much. It's just not my jam. I appreciate a good painting, and I appreciate these paintings, but it's not something I'm in love with. I'm not a painter. So to me, the theme isn't really something that grabs me. That said, I did have fun with the game and would like to play it again. For me, despite the theme, I'm sure for many people, the theme is just right up their alley. And then my only real complaint about the game, and this is going to sound ridiculous, is that if you're colorblind, you can't play the game. There's no way. Even down to all of it. You won't be able to know what color is what. And I'm not colorblind, so maybe I'm speaking out of turn and I'm wrong, but there's just no way to play. Which does bring me to the other thing that I'll say is, on these cards, the green and the blue look really similar, and it sometimes can be hard when you're looking at the cards across the table to know, is that green or is that blue? You got to pick it up, you got to look at it, and that just seems silly to me. I don't know how that quite happened. I think it could be a fairly simple fix, maybe screen print on these here, G's and B's, and same thing there, and then suddenly everybody can play no problem. But that's it. I think this is a good, light, fast game, which is introducing some basic mechanics of Euro games, and it's one that you can play quickly with just about anybody. One of my friends is actually a wonderful painter, and I've been dying to play this game with her, so I'm really looking forward to this getting back to my table. I think if you like these basic worker placement mechanics, dice placement mechanics, then I think this game is definitely worth your time. I think if you are a fan of classic paintings, then absolutely it's worth your time. All in all, I don't really have anything bad to say about this game. I think it's fun, quick, light, and really is a good time. I think it's well done all around. So there you have it, folks. If you are familiar with this game and I made any mistakes, please let me know in the comments with the timestamp so I can get those into the Klingon subtitles. And as always, if this was useful to you or you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, share. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.